Hello and welcome to Absolute Trust Talk. I am the host today, Kirsten Howe. This is our live streaming podcast here at Absolute Trust Council, and I'm very happy to have you here with me today. Transitions, even happy transitions, are stressful for everyone. A lot of times, transitions are a mix of happy and not so happy. For example, what we see not uncommonly for seniors who are our clients, a common transition scenario goes like this. A spouse dies, which of course is a not happy transition, and that can result in a move to a new home, which can be happy or not so happy, kind of depends on your attitude and your situation. And possibly that would result in a change of community, maybe a change in the availability of friends and other support people. So a combination of a lot of things, transitions happening all at once, and everyone reacts differently. Some experience sadness, confusion, anxiety, depression. Those things are not uncommon. So in this episode, we're going to be talking with Penny Reed of Rossmoor Counseling Services about some of the common transition struggles her team sees, which are certainly not unique to Rossmoor, and what her team is able to do to help their residents. As I said, my guest today is Penny Reed, and Penny is a licensed clinical social worker with Rossmoor Counseling Services. She has expertise in geriatrics, in mental health issues, and also in the impact of chronic disease on individuals and their loved ones. Penny graduated from San Francisco State University Master's Social Work Program in 2004, and she's been licensed by the state of California as a clinical social worker since 2009. She came to Rossmoor Counseling Services in September of 2013 and brings with her 20 years of experience in the field of social work, including program management and program development and psychotherapy through the various agencies that she's worked with over the years. I feel as though, in addition to introducing Penny, I should introduce Rossmoor Counseling Services a little, because we're going to be talking about that too. The goal there at Rossmoor Counseling Services is to help Rossmoor residents achieve their maximum life satisfaction and maintain independence, which that's what we all want, independence. That's a very important component of a happy life. And so how they do that is they provide Rossmoor residents with brief psychotherapy as needed. And in addition to their, truly clinical services, they provide assistance with other aspects of life, long-term care planning, home assessments, family consultation, community resource information. Penny's going to talk to us about all of that. And just as an aside, this is part of what you get when you live in Rossmoor. There's no fee for those services. And if you are a listener of my podcast, you know I love free stuff. So that's just really great. All right, Penny, welcome. It's really great to have you here.
Oh, thank you, Kirsten. I'm so happy to be here.
Great. Rossmoor here in Walnut Creek in, Contra Costa County is a big deal. Everybody here knows about Rossmoor. And so, number one, I'm just delighted to have somebody here representing Rossmoor. Also, though, for my international listeners, I'm not sure I have any, but I'm sure I have people who don't, live in this area, and they don't really know what we're talking about when we talk about Rossmoor. Why don't you start for us by just describing Rossmoor?
Absolutely. So Rossmoor is basically a gated community for folks who are 55 and older. And it really is, as they term it an active retirement community. And it used to be, the history of Rossmoor, it's been here over 50 years. The history used to be that the retirement age was 45 back in the 60s when this all started up. So life was a little different then.
Oh my goodness, that's hard to imagine.
Yeah. So, I mean, it's transitioned where the ages went up 10 years to 55 plus. And a lot of our 55-year-old folks for the next 20 years are still working.
They're
So
not
we
working.
have
They're not retired. Yeah.
they're
Yeah.
not retired. We have a good population of working seniors, I guess you would say,
Yeah.
here in Rossmoor.
Yeah.
So yeah, I think it's the community has really evolved over the last 50 years that it's been here.
Right.
But what it does have, what it provides for folks is just lovely opportunities to connect with their peers. People are in that same transitions, and that they are. And I love that you started with transitions to introduce me, because that's a big part of what we help folks with. But Rossmoor has a state-of-the-art gym. We've got 5 swimming pools, I believe.
Oh my
Of
gosh,
course.
I didn't know
Oh
that.
yeah. Yeah, one of them, I believe one is indoors. I think the rest are
Okay.
outdoors. Of course, it's built around a golf course,
Golf
as
course,
many
yeah.
of these types of communities are. We have a recreation department, which is always putting on music events. We have a movie theater. That was the thing that got me when I first started here.
That's awesome.
It
Yeah.
has its very own movie theater.
Yeah. There's a restaurant in there too, isn't there?
There is. That's not run by Rossmoor. It's sort of leased. The space is
But
sort
it's
of
there.
leased to.
Yeah.
Yeah, it is there.
Within the gate. Yeah.
Yeah, and of course it has a counseling office as well. And just like you said, there is no fee for our services. We are an amenity of Rossmoor. We can only work with Rossmoor residents. So yeah, our services aren't available to everyone listening to this podcast.
Right.
But I'll talk a little later about our events.
Okay.
And many of our events are open to folks we're not residing here.
Okay. And just to be clear, I think I might have described it as a senior living community, which arguably 55 years old is not senior. But anyway, but Rossmoor is 100% independent living. It's not an assisted living facility. It's not anything like that. It's just a community where everybody happens to be over the age of 55.
That's it exactly.
Okay.
And people do get confused about that, but
right.
It really is. It's most everyone here lives in a condo. There's a few single family homes here and there, but most of it is condominium living, and it's your own.
Right. Yeah. And I got to say, I have lots of clients who live in Rossmoor or whose parents live in Rossmoor. I've been to Rossmoor many times. I'm going in there to visit a client in their home. I don't wander around. So that when you said there are 5 swimming pools, that was eye-opening for me. I never get to see that stuff. Of course, I see the beautiful golf course because that's right smack dab in the middle when you come in. Do all senior living communities have a counseling office or offer counseling services to their residents?
No, we're very rare. There's only, to my knowledge, there's only 2 retirement or senior living communities that offer counseling services, and that's us, Rossmoor, here in Walnut Creek. And of course, we are run under a foundation called Golden Rain Foundation. Yeah. And then there is Laguna Woods, which is also under Golden Rain Foundation, but different leadership. And they also have a counseling office, and those are the only 2 in California that have a counseling office. I do know there's one in Maryland, but I don't know much about anything else other than there's one in Maryland. So Laguna Woods has a very similar counseling office to ours, and I've actually had an opportunity to talk to their director when I was down visiting family in Southern California. So they offer very similar things as to what we do here.
Good. All right. So the name of your office is Rossmoor Counseling Services, which of course makes me at least think of, psychological mental health services, which is of course a big part of what you do. And maybe that's the original mandate. But I think you also offer all kinds of other things. You're just like a general resource for people there too. You want to talk about some of the other things we'll get into the counseling aspect of it, but talk about some of the other things that you help residents with?
Oh, sure. I really like to think of us as kind of your one-stop shop for anything that is a biological, psychological, or social need. So if you're wanting to, look, if you're needing more care in your home, we have information on in-home care providers. If you're just wanting to get out and try and figure out which clubs you like, we've got the list of clubs. We'll sit down with folks and there's 250
There are
clubs
a
in
lot of
Rossmoor.
clubs and activities. Yeah. A
Yeah.
ton.
So sometimes we'll just sit down with folks and go through the list with them and try and help them figure out where to even start. We've got information on legal services and placement services, food delivery,
Sure.
financial aid services. So, anything, really anything.
Okay.
We also have the long-term, this is in your ballpark. We have the long-term care planning documents. So you can pick up power of attorney document here, or 5 wishes, or we also have the post form. So we try and keep a good array of those so people can have access to them easily.
Okay. Very good. Nice. And but the services that you officially provide are more in the mental health, psychological therapy realm. Am I right about that?
Yeah, definitely.
So
We
let's
provide.
talk about that. Yeah.
Okay. So we provide short-term counseling, which basically means it's solution focused. It stays in the present for the most part. So you wouldn't be, we wouldn't be working with people for years on end. There's just not capacity for that, really. But
why do I have these problems over and over again with every relationship? That's not
right.
That's not what you're talking about.
Right. Well, we could be. Actually, people come in a lot for relationship issues. That's one of the highest sought after concerns that people come in with. So, anytime you're in therapy, that repetitive stuff that you do over and over in your life, that's always going to come into the room.
It's always relevant.
And so we do work with that. And we, again, kind of in a short-term aspect, we create goals for folks. We challenge people to kind of change behaviors. And then if things are not, if it feels like the person just needs more work, not work, that's not a good term, but they need more. They need more introspection on what's going on for them, then we have long-term therapy referrals for folks, and we can help get them connected.
Yeah.
But yeah, we work, people come in with, we do couples counseling as well. And a lot of work on specifically daughter-in-laws for some reason.
I know when you and I were talking in preparation for this episode, a while back, and listeners, yes, I do prepare, believe it or not. You mentioned that, and I thought that was so funny. It's the mother-in-law, daughter-in-law relationship.
Yeah, it really is. And I hate to be, to play into stereotypes, but that really is a challenge.
It's what you see. Yeah.
Relationship. Yeah.
Well, and as a mother-in-law, I hear that. No,
Yeah.
I love my daughter-in-law, and I never have had an issue with her. I'm just, in case she's listening. But I see it with my clients a lot.
Mm-hmm.
A lot. Yeah. And then couples could be
we will
relationship
see
problems with your children, because the dynamics change a little over time as we age, and that whole relationship can be a little fraught.
Absolutely. And we also have seen folks, they'll have their adult child come in, and we'll try and help them with communication skills and negotiating with each other to kind of, help that relationship along. So really the gamut of any outside counseling agency, anything outside of Rossmoor is inside of Rossmoor. It's a reflection of the larger world.
Right.
Yeah.
Your folks are experiencing the same thing that everyone is. Now, when we were talking, You did say that one of the common, let's say, presentations that you see with your residents is grief. You want to talk a little bit about that?
Absolutely. Yeah, I mean, I think you kind of hit on it in the introduction. The typical story for someone coming to Rossmoor is that they've lost a spouse and their adult children work and live in the Bay Area, and they're moving to be closer to the kids. You know, they've said, hey, mom, or hey, dad, we just want you to be closer so we can keep an eye on you. So up they go. They sell their home of maybe 30 years and they move to the Bay Area to be in Rossmoor. And, you know, a lot of times it's really great for the first 3 to 6 months because the kids are there getting them settled. They're getting their hand held. And then there's this transition where the adult kids have to go back to work, go back to their lives, raising their own children. And a lot of times there's a sense of abandonment for the new Rossmoor resident. Plus, they're still dealing potentially with grief if they've lost a spouse.
Right.
But even if they haven't lost a spouse, there's almost always grief with any move you make.
It's always an element.
Yeah, because a lot of times people are moving from communities that they've been in for 20, 30 years or even more. Yeah. So everything's new. They have to figure out where do they
got to get a new grocery store memorized. Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah, that would be hard for me.
Yeah.
I have my autopilot things, you know.
Yeah, I do too. I really do. So to help folks with that, we obviously we can provide individual sessions to work with people at that level, but we also provide a number of support groups. So we have a transition support group, which is a group for single women who are new to Rossmoor, because that really is one of our largest populations here in Rossmoor.
Sure.
And also one of the most difficult transitions.
And why is that? What makes that difficult?
I think
single women in particular.
Because I think we're still serving, a lot of times we're still serving a generation where women have never lived alone, and this might be the first time.
Or at least the first time for many, many years.
Exactly. And so that's a transition in itself. And don't get me wrong, some women are over the moon to be by themselves. Many. So
I could believe it.
Yeah, it's not entirely a negative experience. Right. It's mixed for everyone.
Right.
And, you know, I also think there's just, when we talked about this before, you said, but, you know, it seems like women have more social skills and ability to make friends than men do. But I think it's easier, certainly here in such a small community, it's easier for men to sort of recouple up again. After the loss of a spouse.
That's a pretty standard joke, I guess, about Rossmoor.
Yes.
and senior communities in general, you know, if you are a man and you have a car, and bonus, you can drive at night.
Exactly.
You will get a girlfriend. Yeah.
Right.
That's not unique to Rossmoor either, I'm sure.
No, I don't think so. So that's where that can be an isolating experience. Is it's just harder to sort of break into groups when you're on your own, as a woman. Right. So we have that support group for folks, and really it's all about getting people in the same room together, and talking about what Rossmoor has to offer, talking about where they've come from, really about that group cohesion and getting a core group of people that they know at the beginning of their experience of Rossmoor.
Oh, okay. Yeah. Don't wait 3 to 6 months. When it really hits you, it comes crashing down on you. Just get active, do something. That's a good resource that you can provide.
Right.
Yeah. If they're open to that, if they're willing. Yeah, that's great.
Exactly. And, you know, some folks and some folks don't come to the transitions group until like a year later after they've moved here. But I still consider that new because there's so much that goes on with moving that sometimes that's your whole life, right? They're,
Oh,
you
yeah.
know,
Yeah. Yeah.
refurbishing or whatever.
Yeah. It
Yeah.
takes a while to get settled in. And you did say to me that, which I found fascinating, that it tends to be the newer residents at Rossmoor who are struggling, who utilize your services rather than the long-time residents, just kind of statistically.
I think so. Yeah, I think so. And I think that goes with the, the hopefully diminishing stigma on mental health, right?
Hmm. Oh,
Generationally.
That's it.
It
Yeah,
is
that
it
is a
is
good
very
point.
different for someone, for someone in their 80s to ask for help as opposed to someone in their, 50s
In
and
their late
60s.
50s. Yeah, sure.
Yeah, or younger.
Yeah, we're just more used to that kind of thing.
Mhm.
You're right. I hadn't even thought about that. Okay. And you mentioned support groups, and you did mention one or two. Are there other support groups that you have there?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, we also offer a bereavement group, of course.
Okay.
And just again, sort of getting people connected with each other, talking about the experience of loss and not so much healing from it, but knowing that how to find that balance of that loss always being a part of you and building a new life at the same time. That's really my focus for our bereavement group.
Mm-hmm.
We have another fun group, which is our autobiography group, which
Oh,
every other group is open to everyone. We only have one group that is just for women. So everything else is everyone's welcome. And so we have autobiography group, which is dipping your toe into writing your memoirs. It's really fun.
uh-huh.
Yeah, so that's one of my favorites. And autobiography. We also have a friendship group as well. And again, I mean, that's kind of the point of Rossmoor is to connect with other people. So
Sure.
we're really doing everything we can to facilitate that
To help
happening.
people do that. Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah.
Okay. And now, do you find that these past now almost 2 years of living in a pandemic
Yeah.
has made maybe the problems that people struggle with, or more widespread or more intense? Have you seen that effect happening in Rossmoor?
Well, these last 2 years, we have been the busiest we have ever been. Yeah, we have I thought we topped our clients in 2020, and then we had even more in 2021.
Oh,
I think the uncertainty that this pandemic has created, it sort of settles on all of us, and there's just this low level anxiety that we're all sitting with all the time.
yeah.
And so I think we have less tolerance for one thing going wrong. Before we could maybe multitask and do lots of things.
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
we already have this big thing that
I
we're
know.
coping with, which is,
Just
are
one
we
more
are we
straw on
safe?
that. Yeah, one more straw on that camel's back. Yeah.
Exactly. So yeah, I think it really is taking a toll on our folks. And for seniors, loneliness is a really big factor.
Yeah.
We've basically been talking about loneliness without saying that. And the sheltering in place really has added to that. It's made it
Sure.
really difficult for
Yeah.
folks to connect with each other. It's made it scary, which is just not okay.
Right. Now, however, just to be clear, Rossmoor is not an assisted living. It's not a nursing home. Your residents this is their home, and they can come and go as they will, and they can have guests. But I guess a lot of the activities were probably curtailed because of shelter in place and
Yeah,
all the other.
that's
That's
what we lost.
that's what they lost. Yeah.
Yeah.
As did we all. We all lost so
Exactly.
many. Yeah. And it's stressful. It is stressful.
Hmm.
Okay. Before we finish up, I want you to talk about, you referred to it earlier, the things that are available to non-Rossmoor residents, the other
Oh yeah,
things
thank
that
you.
you are up to that
Hmm.
other people would like to hear about.
Okay. So we're currently planning, every year we have an optimum wellness lecture series, and we are in the planning phases of that now. We're a little behind on planning because we got shut down again.
Yeah.
But we're picking that up. And so what that is excuse me.
Well, I was going to say, is that going to be a in-person event or on Zoom or some combination, or maybe you haven't figured that out yet?
I think it's going to be depending on what the speaker's choice is,
Yeah.
because we have capacity to do Zoom, and if facilities open up, we have lovely meeting rooms here in Rossmoor.
Yeah.
So we can do both.
Okay, so I interrupted you when you were going to
Yeah.
describe the speaker series. Go ahead.
That's okay. We haven't gotten anyone scheduled yet, but this year we're looking at topics on caregiver stress. I'm looking at my notes. That's why I'm looking down.
Okay,
But
that's okay.
cancer support. We're going to try and get someone to talk about intimacy and aging, and also long-term planning. So yeah, kind of a general. We really try and reach out to topics that are most pertinent to our folks here in Rossmoor, and to create something interesting and educational.
Okay.
And so we have about
series,
6. Oh,
no, go ahead. Go ahead.
Yeah, we have about 6 to 8 speakers in every speaker series throughout the year. And that, as I said, that will be advertised in the Rossmoor News, advertised on our Stay Informed email. Rossmoor has a TV station, Channel 28. And so it'll also be advertised on ads in there.
Okay.
And if anyone is interested, non-residents can take the Rossmoor newspaper, or they can go online and look up Rossmoor News. I think it's rossmoornews.com, and they can find stuff happening
all that
there.
kind of information. Okay, so they can find out when those events will be, and they can attend. Okay. Yeah. Okay, so I know you've got a few other things to talk about there.
Yes, and I'll be brief. We also do.
You've got time.
Okay, good. We have a fall prevention event that we do each year, and we collaborate with Diablo Valley Foundation for the Aging with that. And generally, we invite three experts from the community, usually physicians, to talk about how fall prevention is impacted, how to prevent falls. And we also, in that event, we've had physical therapy assessments. So folks there doing very simple balance assessments, sort of watching you stand, watching you sit up, watching you walk, and just giving quick tips. And those we've had, just to give credit where credit's due, the first year was Lafayette Physical Therapy Center, and the second year was John Muir Physical Therapy.
Nice.
So that's a wonderful event. We've done it live and on Zoom, so hopefully we'll be live next year.
Keep our fingers crossed on all that. Yeah.
I know, but we're all very flexible now, right?
Right.
At a moment's notice.
Right. We can go either way. That's okay. And
then one more event is our health fair. Yeah. And so that's, again, more community education. We invite around 35 to 40 nonprofit organizations in the Contra Costa community to come to one of our main event halls and have a table, and residents can kind of come in and talk to everyone, see what services are out there, and they get to pick up lots of swag from the agencies too. Yeah.
Very good. And that's also going to be open to outsiders.
That is,
They can look for that in the Rossmoor News. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Well, all of those sound very interesting. I think I'm going to be watching for that too.
Good.
Now, Penny, we do have some questions from our our live viewers, so I'm going to turn to those and ask you some questions. And for those of you who are listening to the recorded version of this, you don't get to ask questions, but sorry. Okay, let me scroll up and find the questions. Okay, is Rossmoor Manor part of Rossmoor? Well, that's a Rossmoor question.
Rossmoor Manor.
I think,
I don't know what that
if
is.
I'm not okay, so the answer, I
So it's
think
not.
no.
So no, it's
Yeah,
not.
yeah. I think it's a skilled nursing facility
Oh,
just outside of Rossmoor. That's my recollection. Okay.
okay. I think I know it as Manor Care. I haven't heard of it called Rossmoor Manor, but that makes
You
sense
might
because
be
it's
right.
right next to Rossmoor Medical Services, which also is not affiliated with Rossmoor, the
Rossmoor.
community. Yeah.
Right. Okay. Okay, here's another question. Is there any kind of a limit on how many times or how often a Rossmoor resident can use your services?
We don't often say a number like 6 or 8. I mean, those numbers float around. You would be surprised how many times people come back. I know I only get the 4 sessions.
Like an
It's
urban
a different
legend.
number.
Yeah.
But, we really let the work guide that.
Yeah.
And what I tell people is I'll see folks anywhere from, 1 to 6 or 7 sessions. And then once we get to the 7th or 8th session and it's not wrapping up, we will start talking about transitioning to long-term care. But that doesn't mean you're out the next week, right? It's a gentle transition.
Yeah, the goal is to help resolve whatever it is. And if it becomes apparent at some point that it needs more, then you transition to somebody else. Yeah. Okay.
Right.
There's no hard and fast 5 sessions, you're cut off.
No,
Right.
Definitely not.
Okay. There's a question in here. What kinds of support groups do you have? That probably came in after I asked the question, so we can probably advance past that. And so what is the status of your office's programs right now? What things are unavailable or only online due to COVID right now?
That's a good question. Currently, we're still seeing residents either by phone or by Zoom. And that's about 50-50 for us. Generally, I think we talk folks who are 80 or above are not interested in Zoom, but people under that age are more open to that experience. Yeah. Yes, but we definitely do phone sessions as well. And our support groups we're holding because I know we're going to open up shortly. And in fact, I think we're getting a decision today on what's going to happen next week. I think the board is meeting with the county health department and things like that. So more information will come. We were doing support groups on Zoom in the original shelter in place. And if we're going to hold another month in sheltering, then we'll move to doing our groups on Zoom again. But I just need to hear that decision because the groups honestly are so much better in person.
Okay. I was going to ask you, does it impact the experience? And the answer is yes. Yeah.
It does. I don't feel like people connect as well virtually. Yeah.
I'm sure that's true. Plus, in person, you probably have snacks. That's what I think.
No. Before COVID, we had snacks. Now, no snacks. It's too stressful with all the guidelines.
I know. Keep your mask on.
Exactly.
Don't touch that cake. Okay. I think that's all the questions. So I'm just going to remind our listeners, let's see, you can find Rossmoor Counseling Services website. It's rossmoor.com/residents/resident services /counseling services. But I think if you just Google Rossmoor Counseling Services, you can navigate to where your you are,
Mhm.
if anybody's interested in that. So, Penny, thank you so much for being here with us today. Such a lot of information and very interesting and helpful. So thank you. I really
Thank
appreciate it.
you. This was really great. I really enjoyed talking with you today. Thanks.
Great. Thank you so much. Okay. And thank you all for being here today. It's not fun with no audience, that's for sure. And we're doing this for you. So thank you. I hope you got a lot out of it. And I am looking forward very much to connecting with you next time.
Thank you for joining us today for another episode of Absolute Trust Talk Live. If you enjoyed listening in, then don't forget to subscribe. You can find us on Apple Podcasts or wherever you may listen by searching Absolute Trust Talk. While you're there, we would also love for you to leave us a review. And then why not share your favorite episodes with family, friends, or colleagues too? You can find all of our shows and corresponding show notes by visiting absolutetrustcouncil.com. You'll also find a variety of other free resources, including our ebooks, videos, blogs, presentations, and more. If you need help with your estate planning or administration, we also offer a free discovery call to help get the process started. You can find more information on booking your session by visiting absolutetrustcouncil.com/scheduling. Don't forget to keep an eye out for our next live episode in 2 weeks. If you join us for the broadcast, you can submit questions during the show. But if not, don't worry. You can always get in touch with us by sending a quick message to info@absolutetrustcouncil.com. Thanks again for listening. We'll see you soon.